Greetings everyone, welcome back. So, we're sitting back down again. We have our reference material for doing more work to our sketchbook drawing of this mashup of Dave Mustaine and Stitch. I don't think these socks would fit me. They're pretty cool though. Of course, we have this Flying V ukulele, which I think at some point would be kind of cool to turn this into a tribute of sorts to Dave Mustaine. Anyway, it's pretty neat. So let's get back to work here. Put the sock there. Okay. Pick up the bunny pen. Let's get back to work here. So we're going to zoom in on this. Try to lock it down a little bit so it's not too blurry. And get back to working on the guitar a little bit. So I've chosen this guitar specifically, which is one of Dave Mustaine's signature guitars. This one would actually have sort of the vintage looks and capabilities of one of the original Flying V's that would have come out in the 50s, I believe. So that's what we're going with here. And this one would have like a white binding around its body. As well as like a metal, I don't know what you'd want to call this sort of thing. It's like a V that the strings would also be run through to the body. I personally think that the Flying V, concept-wise, kind of got some of its inspiration from the automotive industry. People loved fins on their cars, and this thing kind of used those attributes, I think, as well. The headstock of this guitar, though, that's the real kind of oddity in my mind to be Dave's signature sort of tribute to another famous instrument, which is the Explorer. Whole different sort of looking body as well, but a very cool guitar. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much about that. Let's see what we can do with this now. Now, I didn't plan out this part. This is going to be kind of tough, I'm thinking. But it won't be perfect either. Fret spacing in order to, well, I'm not going to ramble on about it. I mean, Luther's guitar builders could tell you all about the rules of 7 and how spacing is very specific to create intervals And those intervals create the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do kind of. Anyway, they are necessary. I'm just doing this by eye. In case you're wondering, I don't have anything lined up. I'm just trying to make them a little bit smaller as I go. The scale of Dave's guitar is 25.5. So more rambling. Scale has more to do with like the overall length. I may have added more than what was necessary there. What do we got here? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, it's not perfect. So you'd really want to have 24 frets for his signature model. We're going to pretend we're pretty close. Doesn't matter. I mean, it matters. Trust me, it matters, but we're not going to be that picky about it because it is my sketchbook. And in my sketchbook, I can be precise, and I think that's good. I don't have to be perfect, though. And just for fun, let's extend those frets like little bumps. Just like that. So we'll have fret markers like that. Third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 12th. There would be one there, and so on and so on. I'm just going to fill this in lightly. So if you play the guitar, you know that I put a little bit of effort into this part. It's not perfect, but your hand kind of knows stuff. So let's see if this can help me out with a couple of things. It may not very well, though. Let's see if I can. Not the way I want it to. Sometimes it works really well, unless this is dried out. Just trying to roll this on a piece of scrap paper. Not the way I want. Okay, well, I'll figure out something. Now, let's go here. There are different types of guitar pickups, of course. There's like single tremolos, double tremolos, humbuckers. The ones that are 2 tremolos wide, they're either going to be a double tremolo or they're going to be humbuckers. Now, as far as like signature models go, cost-wise, this one would probably be amongst the better priced ones that you could get hold of. Well, not this one. The vintage models would be very expensive. And of course, Gibson have other lines of guitars too. And the Epiphone line of guitars that are much more cost. Well, you know what? I should say this. They build pretty good guitars. Epiphone builds great guitars too. But you can get, like, you know, the look and model of that Gibson in a way that doesn't have all the highest end finishes that the Gibson would have. So it's much easier to, for affordability's sake, to get an Epiphone. And playing the guitar shouldn't be so cost prohibitive. It's okay to play an instrument that has a certain look that you want, but you can still, like, you know, afford to eat. It's cool to have that dream. The Flying V is definitely a pretty cool looking machine, though. yes, this vintage original specification. You're not just going to stumble your way into that. Which kind of means that it was built the old way. Which is pretty cool. It's weird how this blue looks so purple, by the way. Maybe for the final bit of what I'm doing, I'll drop in some other blue on top of it. But for now, I just think working with the bunny pen is pretty fun. Feel free to drop in a comment down below. So, what did we say we had here? So that's 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 14. Just estimating where I want to have more things. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, I do think I've run out of some of that room. That's okay. We'll just let that stay kind of half shaded. Kind of cool though. All right, bunny pen, light blue. A little bit of the chest here. Get this weird kind of purpley blue, which is what we're stuck with now. So for those who use, like, the computer to do certain things, this is where it would get a lot faster. The coloring in. So it's kind of a conscious decision too, when you have to piece together where you want color So as I said a little bit earlier in one of the other videos, I'm sure, I really look forward to seeing this latest movie. Disney has been one of those things in my childhood that, like, I remember being a little kid on Sunday nights, and Uncle Walt, as we all would kind of know him as, would come on TV, take us on a tour of, the wonderful world of Disney, show us a little bit about Tomorrowland or something like that. So it's very much a part of my childhood. And some of those movies, they kind of stay with you forever, it seems. Now, mind you, when this movie came out, I was already an adult, so it's not as built into me the way it would be with some people. But I do like to be entertained. Should also say, if you have like markers, like those alcohol-based ones, yeah, those can be a little bit quicker as well than doing this by pen, by bunny pen. I like it. Now, let's make sure that we don't lose some of those details in the arm. We'll let some of this chest hair stay prominent. How neat would it be to have the ability to have extra arms for, well, like playing the guitar, for example? How neat would that be? Now, there are people who get, and it's usually a genetic kind of thing, so you're born with it in your family. Extra fingers. Polydactyly is what it's called. How interesting would that be? Now, every so often there's somebody born with a version of perfect polydactyly, which would be, instead of like having two thumbs, you'd have like your regular sort of hand, but you'd have an extra finger. Let me see if, I don't know if I can make that look. Anyway, how neat would that be? You could fret the coolest chords. You even have some perhaps designed specifically for you. Human beings are pretty cool. This stuff takes a while to do, huh? Make sure that we have that darkened in just a little bit. This darkened in. Make sure that components of the hand are still recognizable as such. We'll work on the fret arm next. Give a little bit of spacing on that elbow. I'm not perfectly decided if I'm going to, in the end, bring out a black pen or just use the black ink that's in the Bunny pen here to define some of the lines. What I may do with this idea anyway is I might do it as like a painting or just a different design. So that it's outside of the sketchbook and one that I might put in, maybe a bit more time into. Now, moving down here to the jacket. And get this. Now, Dave often can be seen wearing like a vest, so this isn't too far out of the realm of what Dave Mustaine might wear. Make sure that his cool short pants are also doing okay. Some of this doesn't require as much sort of working. But what I'm doing, though, is I'm just sort of framing the legs, and then I can get back to using the blue on that. fun to think about how clothing might lay across the body. Okay, now we go to this weird blue, which is really strange. Like I said, it just seems kind of purple. So I'm going to frame the legs in that blue. Make sure the ankle is still there. The bottom of the foot. Let's see what we can do about these toes. Now, Stitch wouldn't necessarily have feet that look like this. I'm doing this as sort of like a creative license. Which is a nice way of saying that I didn't feel like doing it a certain way, that I would have a preference to seeing it another way. And I think that's fun as an artist, for you to take those kind of little bits of freedom that you don't have to copy. I prefer not to copy, to be honest with you. Okay, we got 1 foot on the monitor. The other one here. You know, this was another opportunity for me to perhaps save a little bit of time on drawing toes, which is not so bad, honestly, but I could have done another pair of Chuck Taylors. Although, honestly, I don't know if Dave wears Chuck Taylors, so I doubt very much he plays barefoot, though, so perhaps I should have looked that up. There's always a funny part when you're getting towards the end of something and you're kind of finishing something specifically, where you just kind of like look forward to it being done. I'm kind of feeling that right now. Because the last thing that I'm going to do, really, well, one of the last, will be this monitor over here that's in black. So I kind of look forward to that being done. Fill that in a little bit darker. So yes, I do hope you don't mind that I broke up the videos into multiple parts. Even if I did them in one setting, or sitting, I should say. I do think creating natural sort of breaks is a nice thing too. As I am an old man, and I should take breaks. Next. I will continue to say this. Find yourselves one of these multi-ink, multi-color pens. They're so much fun to have for your doodling. I mean, imagine how awesome it is to set up your sketchbook and not have to bring out a huge package of pens of different colors. You can have one pen of different colors. Wow. Thanks, Bunny Pen. Thanks for making doodling more fun. I know that sounded ridiculous. Now, in theater, or anything on stage really, the thing that you kind of ignore is usually matte colored, so it's not very reflective, or I should say matte finishing, and often it's done in black. Now, in Disney World or Disneyland, they use green paint to make things disappear. That's an interesting idea. So I feel like I'm kind of basically done. I could fill this in just a little bit. Actually, let's look at this for a moment before I give that a shot. So this could be done almost like a tweed head. And by tweed, that would be a type of material that would be often woven together. So you'd have coats that could be made out of tweed. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this, to be honest with you. Hadn't really thought about that. But the main thing that I'm going to do now, just for fun, we'll see if it actually helps a little bit. I'm just going to get out a little bit of paint. I didn't grab white out. I have paintbrush. And up here on this ear, where I set the tear in the ear a little bit too high, I'm just going to put a little bit of this paint over that. Oh, that's not great at all. This is why you need whiteout. It's a little bit better there as it's a little bit thicker. Should have did that towards the beginning of the video. That I don't mind. Now let's see what else I can do with this. Just marking the frets ever so gently. And really, the only person that's really going to notice this is going to be me. And for those of you that watch me do it, I suppose. Up here is where you'd have a truss rod cover. And that's where, Dave would have his name. Up here is where you'd have like Gibson. But we're not going to go that extreme. All right. I think that is it for this doodle. Let's back it out a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Now, I think the next thing that probably could be done with it would be a little bit more outlining. And maybe touch up these spots here, which I think would be ideal, with a bit of pink, and make sure that that tear is a little bit more prevalent as well, which I'll do very quickly here. So we'll get rid of the original blue line, go back over that just very quickly. I do like working with a brush. I have an idea. I don't know if this will ruin it or not. I wonder if I should put antenna through there. Who's to stop me? Nobody. Now, Stitch doesn't always have the antenna out. It's not quite the same as having spidey senses. But let's just say for the thrashing, he's very much aware of his surroundings. So he's plugged in now. Just one of his powers. We're going to bring out that funny blue. It's a quick last minute sort of change detail thing. Yeah, I do wonder about doing a painting of this. Might look cool. Black and white illustration. Would also be pretty neat. I think that might be just barely dry enough for me to bring in a little bit of pink over the top of that. And now, only we know, who watched this happen, know what happened. Final thing, define a couple of spots. Let shadows exist where shadows need to be. Anyway, I'm going to redden, or add a little bit more red up here to the toasting glass of wine from Dave the Connoisseur. I hope this is a wonderful red. I myself don't drink. I'm not against the concept of those who do, in moderation, enjoy whatever version of wonder. Okay. Now, let's back this out one more time again, and we can finally let this video come to an end. So we'll go all the way to here. Try to lock it in without too much going on with it. So, folks, that's what we got. Starting off by getting inspiration from a few of these things around me, including the Tommy Bahama shirt that I wear pretty much every day. So there you go. It's a mashup of our friend Stitch and heavy metal guitarist Dave Mustaine. And let's let that autofocus. So I think that's pretty fun. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, let me know what you think. And we'll work on some other fun stuff at some point in the near future. All right. Ciao for now. Bunny Pen says see you later as well.